Due to the horrible gun tragedies we have faced and calls from people from all across America for our government leaders to act, President Obama, along with urging Congress to pass legislation, issued 23 executive orders aimed at helping to reduce gun violence. The response from the right has been hysterical. Their rhetoric, from talk show hosts to politicians, are whipping up a frenzy of hatred and fear among their reactionary base. They are all saying that Obama is coming for your guns. The point the conservative right seems to be asserting is that legislation connected to guns in any way can never ever be discussed or passed by government or Congress, which is totally false and insane. Our government and Congress have passed legislation regulating, confiscating, and even banning certain types of firearms throughout history. The sky did not fall and the Second Amendment remained intact. At the start of the American Revolution, states would confiscate weapons if the person did not swear an allegiance to the state or to the United States. In the 1700s, a law book used by law officials called the Conductor Generalis gave sheriffs, constables, justices of the peace, and other officers of common law the power to disarm individuals who rode about armed in terror of the peace. In Massachusetts in 1787, persons who took part in the Shays Rebellion lost their gun rights for 3 years. In the 1792 Uniform Militia Act, the government was granted powers to keep an exact list of militia members, their names, and what weapon they owned. And in 1799, New Jersey had laws permitting the government to disarm disorderly persons and armed assemblies. The sky did not fall and the Second Amendment remained intact. In the Wild West, Americans were banned from bringing firearms into some cities and towns, and other times had to check their guns at the border of towns and hand them in to the local sheriff, then retrieve them on the way out. The sky did not fall and the Second Amendment remained intact. As America grew, many cities and states passed local ordinances and laws regulating guns and their operation as a result of public demand for law and order and safety. States started passing laws in the early 1800s regulating firearms and even banning concealed firearms. In 1806, Virginia required free men of color to obtain a license in order to exercise their Second Amendment right, and the Virginia government kept a list of those men. In 1838, the Tennessee State Supreme Court upheld the banning of concealed weapons, saying, "The legislature intended to abolish these most dangerous weapons entirely from use." The sky did not fall and the Second Amendment remained intact. Congress passed the first major federal gun legislation in 1935 with the National Firearms Act, in response to machine guns and sawed-off shotguns, their bushmasters of the day, not being used as self-defense, but by organized crime murder squads. Machine guns, sawed-off shotguns, and even bazookas were banned. The sky did not fall and the Second Amendment remained intact. In 1967, the right's Moses, Governor Ronald Reagan at the time, signed the Mulford Act, prohibiting the carrying of loaded firearms. In 1968, there was the Gun Control Act, banning armor-piercing shells and starting a background check system. In 1989, George H.W. Bush, in a similar manner as Obama, banned foreign-manufactured semi-automatic assault weapons. The sky did not fall and the Second Amendment remained intact. And also, no conservatives were calling George H.W. Bush a tyrant and calling for armed rebellion when he used his executive powers to try and reduce gun violence. In truth, Obama's orders don't even grab or ban any weapon in any way. They mostly deal with background checks, funding for mental health, gun safety, and gun violence studies at the National Institute of Health. The conservative right is not only whipping up their reactionary base and fomenting fear and possible violence, but they aren't even telling the truth. Obama's executive orders are not coming for anybody's guns. The sky will not fall and the Second Amendment will remain intact. These chicken littles, who have corrupted our government with gridlock and dysfunction, need to step aside and let the will of the American people be the priority of Congress, not the NRA and an extremist ideology of a small group of people.